All right, there we are. Technology ain't perfect, so what are we gonna do?
Nothing. We're gonna
We
keep.
restart. We do it again.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
we do.
yeah. What do
All
you want?
right, just so people are caught up, I know we mentioned this, but you're employed again. This is yet another job that you have acquired. You're going to be back on the radio in Indianapolis. That's fantastic news. I got to tell you, I'm getting texts from all over the place, congratulating you through me, and very very excited that people are going to be able to listen to you on 1430. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. I'm excited. The people there, the Big E, our friend Eric Wannenberg, and John McCurdy, and a bunch of guys that we worked with at MS. Can't wait to get started. Going to start Monday, and we're gonna get rocking and rolling, man. Like you know, guys like Greenberg and you and Benetti and Tarico, and we're gonna have you on because this is the greatest show right here in Indianapolis, and we must continue this. This is going nowhere. We're going to continue doing this. But yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait. A great people, great company. You get that year. I had that year. Was it do not compete? That thing got over. We worked out a deal, and here we go. So let's go, baby. Noon to 3, 14:30. By the way, I did not know it's a big old blowtorch.
Sure it is.
Huh?
Kidding me? Absolutely. It is going to allow you to hold people accountable in higher numbers and with greater authority than ever before.
Yeah, with greater authority. That's what I love. Yes, with greater authority, Kent Sterling. That's it's funny. I had last night after the announcement, I had three or four former uh, Indiana basketball players reach out to me, and I told a couple of them, I go, "Hey, you come on every week?" They're like, "Hell yeah, we'll rip some ass." Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I got to ask you uh,
Yeah.
two things, Colts wise. One, there's no update on Jimmy Irsay. I'm not hearing great things. You sent me a text, and then I kind of followed that up with a couple guys that I know, and they somewhat confirmed. People are being very hush hush about this Jimmy Irsay stuff. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I don't.
You know what? The way we're being led to believe this exists, it's a family deal. How the family chooses to kind of share information and go through this process, that's entirely up to them, and we need to respect it. And but you're right. I mean, it's obviously the news is not good. As you don't hear updates, you would assume that things are not going too terribly well, and they're not improving. We'll just put it that way.
Second thing I wanted to talk to you about because you have put out videos about Chris Ballard and what Chris Ballard needs to do. I got to tell you, Kent, I said this going back. First, I said, you know what, 8-year plan, and then I revised it to a 10-year plan. I was kidding. I never figured we would be at this point of not making the playoffs, and we would still have this going on. Now, maybe a little bit of it is Jimmy's situation. I don't know, but give me your take on Ballard and this being a 10-year plan.
You know, it seems like the bad luck that he's gotten is it has been bad luck for the Colts, but it's been kind of good luck for Chris Ballard because how do you look at the 2023 season as anything but kind of successful given the fact that their starting quarterback went down? You had to re-sign your star offensive player in Jonathan Taylor. You had to figure a whole bunch of stuff out. Your second round pick was absent most of the year because he was injured with Juju Brents. So he had some bad luck team wise, but I think good luck in that people are willing to kind of look the other way and say, all right, you know what? Another year. Let's get Richardson healthy. Let's have Taylor for the entire year. Let's have Brent shore up the quarterback spot for an entire year. Have a camp where he can learn the position, and then you'll be held accountable. And this has happened over and over and over again. And my worry is that your 10-year plan is going to have to be revised upward again. It's going to have to be a 12-year plan or a 14-year plan because I don't know whether 10 years does
If I feel like I just
it.
had an unbelievable sense of deja vu with you right here. Like, because I was going to ask the question that we sat down here when you were Mr. Happy in May, and you said, "Look, if I get May, when can I be happy?" But you're like, "Hey, look." Did they have to make the playoffs? I asked you. Did they have to make the playoffs this year? And your thing was, well, no, just have a really good year. And it fell that way. Okay. It did. So let me ask you the same deja vu question. Is there a scenario? Let me ask you in a different way, though. Is there a scenario like what happened this year where you cannot make the playoffs, but still describe it as, what did you say, nothing short of a kind of successful year and you keep your job?
You know what? This is nut cutting year. This
Yeah.
is even though I don't know, maybe as you look at the draft, he wasn't the best draft pick that anybody ever made at number 18. But they really did some heavy lifting in free agency and in the draft. And they took the next step from 9-8 last year to a place where they're playing on the final weekend. Colts need to do that because one playoff win over 8 years and at no point saying, all right, this is it. We're going in. We're going to do what we got to do to make this thing as good as it can be. We're not worried about 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road. I had a manager at MS tell me one time, he said, "What's your plan?" I said, "You know what my plan is? My plan, 3 years, here's where I want the fan to be. Here's where I want IBC to be." And he said, "Hey, what do you got in your mind? We're living quarter to quarter. I need a plan for the next 90 days. We've got to win the next 90 days." And I hung up the phone. I thought, well, I'm not going to be here very long because I don't do that kind of thing. And what do you know? I wasn't. But Ballard has got to go from my way of thinking 3 to 5 years down the road to right the hell now. You got to go win.
Can't you preaching to the choir? I read where somebody said that the last time he dipped his toe into free agency with money was a huge win to Forrest Buckner. And I suppose that's true. I mean, Buckner's been fine. He's been good. But it has to be more. If you were gonna, well, then go through it. What do you think the Colts have to get that means that their chips are all in?
Well, you gotta figure out the defensive backfield. The secondary has got to improve. Go get the kid from Chicago. He's going to be a free agent. Go
John,
sign him. Get some people. I mean, these projects at quarterback. What the hell is this? I mean, nobody builds a secondary like this. You know what I mean? You've got two third-round draft picks at safety and Nick Cross and Julian Blackman. Rodney Thomas as a seventh-round draft pick. You've drafted Quincy Wilson, Nate Hairston. You've drafted who are the other Juju Brents, of course, Jalen Jones. But the guys that you've drafted, Rocky Yassin is another one. My God Almighty, who's ever put together a successful secondary the way Chris Ballard is trying to do it, letting Stephon Gilmore go? I don't know what that was all about. I assume that there was a prearranged deal where he said, look, you know what? If you're not digging it after a year, if you don't think we're on the right track, we're going to do right by you and we'll move you to the team of your choice as long as we can get decent return. Made that happen. But that secondary is a train wreck. And the secondary being a train wreck is the reason that Gus Bradley's back because who can be held accountable for a defense with that back end? You
that
know,
pitch,
no matter how decrepit and silly your scheme is, like nobody, Buddy Ryan couldn't put together a decent defense with that secondary.
taking the personal out about a guy losing his job, taking that out, making this all about Colts football, pissed you off that they kept Gus Bradley, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
knew
I
it.
don't think, I mean, 27th or 28th in points allowed, yards
Yeah,
allowed, 2 straight years. I mean, that doesn't get it done. I wasn't even happy with Eberflus. And Eberflus was kind of sniffing the top 10 in yards allowed and points allowed, but it was because they went out and generated turnovers at a weird kind of outlier number. I wouldn't dig an Eberflus. I think you've got to be aggressive and this defense is not aggressive. I think defense is a state of mind where you're like, we're the tougher people. We're gonna knock people on their ass. We're gonna take the football from them. We're gonna play press coverage. They're not gonna beat us man to man. We're not gonna go into some kind of silly ass zone because we don't have the people who measure up against their people. we're going to take their money from them. You got to have some kind of attitude, and I haven't seen any attitude from this defense. It's been a long time.
You know what I didn't realize? I did not realize that the Kansas City Chiefs had not given up 30 points the entire year until I was watching that game. I did not realize that we talk about Mahomes and obviously Kelsey because of the whole, he's a really good player, and the Taylor Swift and the running back, Pinchero, 7th-round pick. Okay. But I didn't realize that team is a smash you in the freaking mouth, exactly what you just said, type of defense. So you're talking about, you're trying to catch Mahomes, that offense, and you're adding to it a defense that what? That is top 5 in the league? That's
Yeah.
that's a bit. I did not know this. That's a bitch now. That ain't easy.
And you know what? You're also trying to catch the Bills, and the Bills are no joke. Josh Allen, Stephon Gibbs, their defense
Well,
isn't a joke.
I didn't
You,
even get to the freaking Baltimore Ravens and what their defense and the culture of their defense has always been about.
you know, and what you hear from people inside the NFL always is that when they get off the bus, they scare the living hell out of you. Like the Ravens get off the bus, you're like, oh Christ, we got to play this group of guys. That happens when they get off the bus. The Colts are nice guys. They're smiling. They're happy people. They eat barbecue, or they got wings over at Grover Stewart's joint. You know, they're having a lot of fun together. They're together like this. The Ravens just come to kick you in the mouth.
Got to be a damn fist, Kent. You know
That's
that.
right.
See, all right, I take issue with something.
Dan, let's see, we're still counting. He got frozen, so I think that means he he got it. There you are. All
Yeah.
right, you're back.
When Kenny Burmeister put that slogan at Loyola, fast break by the lake, and they started getting their ass beat, and it became the mistake by the lake, people always use good shit against you, and you just did it. You
Yeah.
good thing by Grover Stewart against Grover Stewart and that defense to somehow, some way equate how soft they are. Genius by you, pal.
that goes to show you never invite HBO into your shit. Don't bring Hard Knocks to your town, or everything that goes wrong, everything that happens is going to be ascribed to it going wrong.
Right.
You know, you can't win with HBO.
Right, right, right. It's like I talked about being on Lexapro on our show, and people are like, well, Dockage has mental health issues. He shows all the time. Like, shut up. I take a drug. Leave me alone. I mean, people always throw that shit right back at you. All right, this thing on the Colts, as I guess, as you watch the playoffs, this is what you do as a coach. As you watch the playoffs, you go, all right, how close are we? How far are we? You beat Baltimore, so you look at least tough enough to do that. Gay makes all the field goals, and you win that game. How close to these two teams, the Chiefs and the Ravens, are the Colts?
It's all quarterback play. You know, if Anthony Richardson can be healthy, you got a chance. And you've got to shore up the back end of the defense. If you do those two things, I think both lines are in pretty good shape. If you re sign Michael Pittman Jr., I'm not thrilled with your receiver core, but that's not too bad. Your tight ends are okay. You got a good running back in Taylor. You've got good linebackers in Speed and Franklin. You're probably better set at linebacker than you've been in a couple of years. I think that they're pretty close, but Richardson's got to stay healthy. If he can't stay healthy, all bets are off. And so what I would do, and I've talked about it a little bit, and I sound like I'm completely deranged when I say it, is with that 15th overall pick, it wouldn't bother me to go take a guy like Bo Nix and make sure you got a 1A and a 1B starting quarterback. You can't go into the season with Richardson and Hoyer or somebody like that, or you got no chance.
Is it your thought that Minshew and Moss are both gone?
Minshew's gone. I think that's pretty definitive.
Yeah.
But Moss, I think it depends on what the market is. If they could go get Moss for the money that they spent on him for this year, which is like what 3.5 million or something like that, I think he comes back. I don't know how coveted he's going to be. I think he can go get a Zach Moss in the draft in the third or fourth round. So I don't know why he would be coveted as a free agent.
I think he got coveted here. You
Yeah.
know, maybe a little more than what externally, people that would go, oh, yeah, Zach Moss was a nice player. Richardson came back. Yeah, he'd be good for us, in the same whatever team you're pretty much talking about. I think the answer would be, yeah, he would be good for us in the same role that he was with the Colts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he would be. And you know what? You've got to take into consideration the business of the NFL. I mean, Zach Moss was in a contract year. He balled out. And we've seen one of the things that I think is great about playing football is you see how hard people play when one single game means everything. The level of hitting goes up like a magnitude. It's awesome to see these guys putting their bodies on the line in a way that they don't during the regular season. Well, during the early part of the season, when Jonathan Taylor was on the shelf, I thought Zach Moss played at that level, that playoff level where he's hitting guys and hitting guys hard, and there's no way to sustain that for 17 games. But you know what? You do it for a few, you can make some money in free agency.
Last thing. We mentioned wide receivers. And I'll go back to Knicks. This I know for fact. Uh, Grigson was going to draft Russell Wilson in the third round. He was at 1,000%. I'll bet anybody you want. He was drafting Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson got taken. So your point about Knicks, I have no argument with. I none. Who knows how this is going to go? Look, all right, fine. You drafted Quentin Nelson, but you had Josh Allen there. Just imagine, based on it didn't make sense at the time. I understand it, but maybe now, after this year, with the way the NFL has gone, with all the injuries to starting quarterbacks, I don't think what you're saying, if it's Bo Nix or whoever in that position, I get what you're saying. If Bo Nix is the guy, then great. But if he's gone and you like somebody just as well, then take him too. What the hell? I'm with you on that. I don't think that's just not idle chatter for content.
I think we're entering an era in the NFL where everybody's going to want to have two starting quarterbacks. And that's going to be really difficult because there aren't 15 great starting quarterbacks in the NFL. But if you can get a guy in a rookie deal, a guy like Nix, who can come in and play respectable and is a guy who really throws with great accuracy and is legitimately decent athlete, you got a real chance. And you've seen how that's paid off for the 49ers. 49ers at one point had three starting quarterbacks if you count Purdy among them. And that's why they're where they're at.
Gritty, it's great to see you. I'm glad you're here, Gritty. We're going to talk about some IU basketball. It was a big night last night. I don't know how I just happened to notice this, but I was losing, and I'm looking at Ball State went on the road and beat the living crap out of Buffalo.
Yeah.
Butler went on the road and beat the living crap out of Georgetown. I was watching a little bit of that game, and then I was watching the Fighting Illinois State to their second win in a row. I flipped on the Purdue game. It was halftime, and Purdue was doubling up on freaking Michigan. I mean, other than Indiana University, it was a pretty good night for Indiana basketball teams last night, Sean Black.
The whole state is playing. Indiana State's playing
Oh,
well. You got teams playing legit basketball in Indiana, but except for Indiana, which is not playing legit basketball. Let me ask you about IU. The flagrant fouls. They lead Division One basketball with 7. Is that do we only take that seriously because Indiana's losing? Like, if they were winning, would we say, flagrant fouls? It shows they're tough. Do we look at this as though it's a lack of discipline because of the losers? Or is it really a lack of discipline?
I think, is it possible for me to answer both? I think it really is a lack of discipline. The one on CJ Gunn, he's not a tough guy. I mean, he kind of, I don't know, maybe I missed something. Maybe there were words. I'm like, and I agree with what Woodson said. The other guy's got to be, he's doing the baiting. I mean, look, I know you throw an elbow, that's different than talking, but I'm sitting there watching CJ Gunn and I'm like, come on, man, that dude is about, I don't know, as untough as there could possibly be. And he gets tossed. I think winning covers everything, Kent. I do.
Yeah.
That I think it's undisciplined, but I don't think we would even think about it, or Woodson would even be asked about it if Indiana were winning. And I do think there is an element whenever you talk to guys that, what's the right word? I don't know how to define them. But whenever you talk to guys, they always go, "Well, I was the guy that came in and fouled in high school." And I'm looking at them. A lot of times they're like 6 feet tall, 170 pounds, and I'm like, okay, yeah, yeah, you were, yeah, good for you, man. So I think the average person, if Indiana was winning, would be like, yeah, this is tough. We're physical. Don't mess with us. But
Yeah.
in reality, it's an undisciplined mess. And I think, the people that are doing it are undisciplined fools. Just don't involve yourself in it. It's simple. Don't do it. What?
Uh, when you respond, you always lose,
Pretty
right?
much.
You got that guy. He's a really good intramural level basketball player, right? He just looks like a guy you'd see playing a hyper. And he's that guy where people are going to fight because he's playing like it's serious, even though it is actually serious when you play against Wisconsin. But he's that guy, who's like getting his hands on you in the backcourt. You bring the ball up, you're like, what the hell's the matter with you? Stop doing this. Are you out of your mind? He's that guy at the Big Ten level, and he can flat shoot. Indiana, how did they only lose by 12?
I don't know. Yeah, Indiana. I think it was you that put on Twitter. Somebody put on Twitter at least Mbako and Ribano or whatever the hell his name is are fighting till the end. Look, Indiana is a talented team.
Yeah.
Like I said it before, I think Indiana should be good. I think they should be very good. I, you get that. There's two or three kids when they get the ball on the block, they score it easy. They don't have quickness. The one dude, Xavier Johnson, over dribbles the damn ball. Gabe Cups, I go back to the first game where you poo pooed me and everybody poo pooed me. And I said, well, maybe he's just a good mid major player right now. Doesn't mean he's going
Yeah.
to be 3 years. Uh, can't, I think they're a talented team. I do. Um, but they lack what teams have when it comes to nut cutting time, a togetherness, and let's just go get. It's almost like a group of 6 different guys came from 5 or 6 different places and came on a basketball team, and are trying to beat teams that have a little bit of culture and a little bit of history together. Because if you ask me, what does Indiana do? What is Indiana about?
Right.
Are they a defensive team? If you say so, but they just gave up 90 some to frickin' Wisconsin. Are they an offensive team? Are they a shooting team? I guess you could say maybe they're a post up team, but they don't. If you're gonna, what you get out of Wisconsin. Michigan. I'm watching them last night, and I'm like, what is Michigan? What kind of team are they? You know what you're gonna get out of Purdue. You just do. Illinois. You pretty much know. 3 years in, hey, maybe it's too early. What did you buy this Woodson talking about? We got a new team. We're dealing with new things. Blah 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 blah.
I don't buy any of it. Can you coach that into a team? Can you go get disparate pieces and kind of stir that into a soup where all the ingredients fit together?
Yeah, if they're really really good, and if you have one or two guys that want to be second, like the Fab Five guys were at Michigan, and I always go back to Ray Jackson. Ray Jackson was the most enthusiastic third, fourth, or fifth guy on a team that I've ever seen. Like people would know Weber, people would know Howard, and people would know Jalen Rose. You may not know Jimmy King, but Jimmy King was a 5-star recruit. Ray Jackson was the perfect guy for that group. He guarded everybody. He enthusiastic. I was watching him at the. He's still enthusiastic. You just need someone that doesn't mind being second, doesn't mind being third. And and I don't. I look at Indiana, and I say, all right, who's first?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who's second? I don't know. Who likes being second? Who's a glue guy? People talk about glue guys. It's like Indiana. I guess you got 10 glue guys. I don't know. I don't have the answer. I just know that there's not a lot of guys out there that are good enough, like a Weber, a Howard, to just bring on a team and you're going to be good. Or in the other way, Indiana doesn't have enough guys that are going to bind you together, that are going to be the.
And I think if you asked Indiana guys, if you took the 5 starters and you said, okay, who's number one? You'd have 5 guys with their hands in the
Right,
air.
right.
Nobody would be a willing number 2. And I think that that's the reason why people kind of vibe with Gabe Cupps a little bit, because he's a willing number 2 or number 3. That he doesn't mind being that guy. Leal doesn't mind being that guy. But you get and you know what? I'm not going to crap on Mbako either, because I think he's kind of turned a corner and he's playing a more like a supporting role, and it seems like he's enthusiastic in it. I think he and Galloway kind of have a good vibe. But man, from where Johnson and who am I? Renew's okay, but
Okay.
Ware and Johnson, I think, are just trouble.
I don't like anything about either of them. I mean, I'm sure they're nice kids. Let's just take the basketball. I'm sure they're great kids. Um, the truth of the matter is, Ware is exactly who Ware is. Like when Ware,
Yeah.
I think we talked about this, when he didn't die for that loose ball, guys that coached him in the past said, hey, look, Dan, that's no surprise. Mbako, I think, is doing a really nice job. I do. I think he's. Look. He's got a lot of baggage background wise. He doesn't let affect him. He's trying in every way, and I'm good with that. Johnson, I just don't think helps you win. I think Johnson has proven over a 5 or 6 year college career that he ain't helping you win. And when he gets pounding it, we're supposed to worry about him as a 6-year guy. Nobody's supposed to worry about him as a 6-year guy. Nobody. He's
There we are. And there Dan goes. I couldn't agree more. There we are. I think that, like, I don't understand. At some point, do you hold Woodson and the staff accountable to this? When they brought Woodson on, they hired Fife, they hired Mata, I guess, to kind of help Woodson negotiate sort of the college environment that he had been a part of since 1980. And now both those guys are gone, and it seems like the guardrails have been removed from this program, and all of a sudden you've got basketball that's basically unwatchable.
It is unwatchable. It is, and I don't think that there's any development, and that's a big problem. Like one of the things that college basketball has become, it's become a business. It's become a job. Like Coach Knight was the opposite. He didn't want nice things in the locker room because he didn't want you hanging out in the locker room. He wanted you to go on campus, be a student, all that kind of stuff. Well, now it's a job. If you're not in the gym all the time, Purdue is. I watched
Yeah.
those Michigan kids when Andrew played there. Game's over. There's Glenn Robinson Jr. working out like crazy in the gym or working out in the weight room over here. Jawan Morgan, all these guys. And I'm like, wow, I wish I had the foresight to do that as a player. Nobody did. I mean, nobody did. Game was over. Okay, we'll be back. I don't see that in Indiana at all. Like, I don't see guys getting better. And don't tell me you can't get better during the season. You absolutely can get better. You can get stronger. You can get bigger. You can shoot better just by being in the gym. Used to be it always, players are made in the summer. Basketball is year round now. And that's my biggest disappointment. I think I've talked to you about this. I've had 2 disappointments. One, I just talked about player development. 2, there is 0 zero imagination, ingenuity on offense. There is nothing offensively that makes you go, huh? Boy, I want to write that down. A high school coach in the state of Indiana going, man, that was really good stuff that they ran there. And that's what I thought. And I've said this to you before on this show. That's what most college coaches that I knew anyway, most college coaches thought about NBA coaches. They got to get great action for great players against great players, and they got to execute it in a short time. And I don't see any of it. I don't see none of that, Kent. And that's bad business. That's just bad business.
Well, I don't want to get too far out over my skis, but it seems like nothing but endless ball screens.
Kent, a basketball in college is endless ball screens. So I'll give Woody, you're kind of playing the way people play. And this again, maybe this is my third problem. I've said this for years. Indiana is exactly like every other team. Indiana looks like every other team. They play defensively like every other team. It's not like there's this tough, we're going to deny, there's no identity. And offensively, it's every other team. The fans act like every other team now. They bitch about, there's always three things fans are going to bitch about: the coach, the referees, and the announcer. So I was watching for it. I think Hummel did the last game, right? Or maybe the last two games Indiana gets beat. Oh,
He's the
man.
only guy working. He's the only guy doing games on any network. He's everywhere.
Everybody, Woodson didn't adjust. He didn't do this. Okay. The referee screwed us. Shouldn't have been. Okay. And I'm getting tired of that freaking, announcer guy. It's always, I'm telling you, but it is a little stunning to me that you're sitting here and it's really getting to be the end of January, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Woodson's talking about the same stuff. I don't really know my team. I got to get them over the hump. I get it when he says we got to go to work, because that's all you can really say or do. Hey, we got to. But what are you working on? Are guys in the gym right now getting better? What? I don't know the answer to that, and it seems like they're not. Let's put it that way.
If you don't know what the problem is, not you, but if Mike Woodson doesn't know what the problem is, how the hell is he going to fix it? And if he's not willing to tell us what the problem is, how are we going to know that it's being addressed? All we know is what we see on TV or at Assembly Hall, and we say, well, this sucks. We don't want to see this anymore. And Woodson develops kind of this attitude about the media and this attitude about fans. Oh, I don't want to answer a question about the rotation. It kind of like it's none of our business. Well, you know what? Coach high school if it's none of our business. Don't take 400 or $4 million of Indiana University money and then tell us it's none of our business. Don't come at us for donations and then tell us it's none of our business. Don't come at us for NIL money and tell us it's none of our business.
Boy, is that true. Boy, you know what? There was a time when I'd have been like, look, I'm gonna coach the living hell out of the team. You're going to judge me by wins or losses, whether I say this is what we did in rotation or this is what we didn't do in rotation. But boy, are you right about what you just said there, Kent. Don't be sending me letters about NIL money. Don't be telling me about one Indiana and then, hey, look, it's none of our damn business. No. Are we partners in this? Like, that's what
Right.
I keep saying. Be a partner. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't want to be a partner with something that I can't talk to. I mean, I don't. NIL should be directed at FU money people,
Right.
because FU money people may not. They got people coming at them like Cuban owns the companies or all these. FU money people wouldn't, for the most part, say what you just said. Don't come at money and then not tell me it. Now, some would. Don't get me wrong. Some, if you give 10 cents, they want to be they want to be in practice. But
Right.
that's why you deal with FU money people. FU money. Hey, man, I need all. Come on. Yeah, you got to give money somewhere. Give it here. Let's go. But you're so right. Don't send me emails about help out, be a partner, sponsor, blah, and then tell me no. I have no obligation to tell you nothing. No, no, no. We're not doing that shit.
Let me ask you about strength and conditioning because I don't know. Like, strength and conditioning appears to be important, and strength and conditioning would appear to be I strength great. The pictures of Malik Renew, he was kind of doughy last year. Now he's all cut up. That's wonderful. Is basketball fit, basketball strong, and a different level of strong? Like I watch Indiana get bigger, and I watch them get bulkier, and I watch them not be able to make shots. Can you lift your way out of a good shot?
I don't think so. I don't. I
Okay.
think it's a myth from way back. Look, I'll say this: bodies are way bigger than they've ever been. No question about it. I remember Derek Horde and Charles Hurt at Kentucky were like these monsters, and now I saw a picture of both of them, and I'm like, they're not even like Lamar Stevens, the kid that played at Penn State. No, I don't think that does, Kent. I think one of the things that was interesting, my brother, who has a very interesting eye for a lot of different things, he went and with a friend of ours, Jeff Jones, has seats literally 3 rows on those bleachers right behind the scores table. He's had them for 100 years, and he went and sat with Jeff for the Purdue game. And you know what he said? He calls me on the way back. I said, "Hey, man, what'd you think?" He goes, "Oh, great seats, great environment. Purdue's really good." He goes, Dan, he goes, "I think Purdue lifts and Indiana doesn't." Oh, really? He goes, "Yeah." He goes, I'm looking at Purdue guys, and holy cow, like they lift. They look so
Ah,
physically. Now maybe he's just looking at Edie, right? Because you look at Edie, and if you're going to base everything on Edie, it's like everybody's tiny, right? But I thought that was interesting because I know Indiana puts a lot, and I think their weight guy Cliff Marshall is a respected guy in the weight world. So I don't know, but I don't think shooting and lifting has anything. I think shooting and confidence is hand in hand, and I don't know. And I think shooting and the real ability to shoot, like I've said this forever, 3 type shooters. One, guys you're shocked when it doesn't go in. Two, guys you think are going to make, so you let them shoot. And three, guys you don't even let shoot. That's it. It isn't like, hey, your turn. And I think Indiana's got a lot of the third. Like even Galloway, people see a white boy from Indiana, got a decent looking stroke. They think he should make everything. Well, he don't make anything. You're kind of surprised when it goes in.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Even Cups, you're kind of surprised. Xavier Johnson with that funky ass shot, you're surprised. And Baco's got a great looking stroke. I'm kind of surprised when he doesn't make. But that's my deal on shooting, Kent. I don't know.
Purdue made 14 of 21 last night from beyond the arc. So evidently that's pretty damn good. I mean, if you make 2/3 of your threes, you're doing all right, whether you're lifting or not. And that's always been Purdue, right? I mean, I remember going to Assembly Hall and looking at Scheffler and Brad Miller and saying, God almighty, where do they find these guys and how do they hang the muscle on them?
I remember my college teammate, Jimmy Bullock. I saw him after our junior year. I'm like, Jesus, what are you and Rowinski doing back there in the lab? What do you guys got going? Get stuff. But no, you're right. Speaking of Purdue, by the way, I do think that for whatever the reason, now it probably this is a dumb thing to say, but for whatever the reason, I'm not so sure that those losses that they had haven't helped Purdue a little bit. I'm never sure how to equate those. First off,
Yeah.
Nebraska's shown itself to be a bitch of a team at home. They went on a run yesterday against Ohio State that was like, holy hell. But I think Purdue's gotten a lot better. I do, a lot better.
They have, and Illinois coming up this weekend. Illinois over the weekend, I watched that game. They are really well coached, and with Terrence Shannon on the court, they are really, really good. And Indiana, if Indiana couldn't really compete with Wisconsin at a high level, and I know Wisconsin's like ranked 11th and all that crap, but Illinois looks to be a really good basketball team.
Yeah, I don't know that I could play Shannon. I would really need to know all of the background.
Yeah,
I'm not one of those, and I've told you this before. My sister was a longtime prosecutor. I'm not one of those that believes the woman. I'm not one of those that believes the man. I believe, as my sister taught me and told me by many different instances or circumstances that you believe the evidence. You believe the evidence. So I would have to have some pretty clear evidence that Terrence Shannon is innocent. It would have before I could. I don't care a court order, whatever. Court order says he can be on the team. Court order doesn't mean I got to play him. And
Right.
I don't think I could do that unless I, in my heart of hearts, and Brad Underwood's a really good dude. Like he comes off as this mean guy. He's just a really good, smart man. So I'm assuming his conscience is guiding him, but I don't think I could do it. The other thing about Illinois is what's that guy, Coleman Crawford? What's his name?
Hawkins?
That dude, I'm telling you, is good enough to get you fired. That dude is I tell you this, Underwood said it best. He said, I need Coleman Hawkins to score, not make plays. Because Coleman Hawkins is one of those fake make plays guy. He'll make a play because he's 6'9", whatever, with the ball in the perimeter, and he'll throw it to the wrong guy in transition. He'll screw it up. He'll be there late and help. But if he goes and makes shots, now you're talking about 20-22 every night, which you can do, and they're a bitch. Telling you, he's Coleman Hawkins good enough to get you fired, but he's also good enough to whip your ass if you're Indiana in the evening.
We got a lot to look forward to Saturday. I'm so in this sad. I look forward to Indiana basketball season like it's a 4-month long holiday, right? This week I was like, oh, good, no games during the week. I'm not going to have my night ruined by Indiana basketball Monday through Friday. I can deal with the Saturday afternoon. I'm good with it. But Monday through Friday, I get the week off. It's not they get the week off. It's I get the week off. And I don't like thinking about it that way.
Why do you think about it that way?
Oh, to watch them is an exercise in endless frustration. There's never any joy from them. There's never joy. And I just there's not that sense of like the women have this that they really enjoy playing together. That they like each other, that they're there to support one another. And the guys, it's just empty of that. And basketball can be so beautiful when it's played by guys, and it's not like a social liking each other, but guys who fit together on the floor and really kind of vibe together as basketball players. It's just so beautiful. And Indiana, for years, has failed to really embrace that, and I don't understand it.
I agree with that. That's why I always like Christian Watford. I always like Christian Watford because, it was great, not great, I don't know. But he seemed to have an enthusiasm about it. Moye used to have an enthusiasm. Kane and those guys had an enthusiasm about it. I subscribe to the Ralph Waldo Emerson. Nothing great is ever accomplished with enthusiasm. I do. I think that's a massive deal. My wife gets sick of me because I'm always singing in the morning. Like, she's like, you're always in a good mood. I go, no, I don't have to coach these idiots anymore. I'm good. What do I got to do? But you're right. You can feel it. Like, I was watching Andrew's team. They went through a 6-game losing streak, and it's really the only team that I'm invested in, right? I mean,
Right.
my stepdaughter didn't play anymore. My wife's not coaching. I'm not coaching. And it was miserable. And to your point, actually, as you were saying this, I was thinking about, as you were talking about joy, they were just out there. And, Andrew calls me about 4 times a week, and I'm like, hey, look, you guys are just playing. You're not competing. You're not after somebody's ass. And then it's changed over the last really 2.5 games. They lost one of the games, but they were on a 2-game streak. And the joy, the enthusiasm, the energy, you can just tell it. And Indiana, you can tell the joy in the real joy in the stands.
Yeah.
But same thing, but in Mackey, you can tell the joy in the stands, but you can also feel it with Smith or with Edie or with whoever. It doesn't matter. Anybody that's out there, is doing a transfer kid from Southern Illinois. You can feel it, and you can.
And what I want to know about that is Dan will come back in a moment. I want to, who gives the stars for that? Where are the stars for players who bring enthusiasm? I want enthusiastic people. I want them in my life. I want them on my basketball team. And where is that? Where is the enthusiasm and where do the grades for enthusiasm come from? Is there such a thing? Is it respected? Does anybody look at that and the way they look at Tom Green, the way he used to look at length, right? Oh my God, he's a +6 and he's got 78,000 deflections. All right. Well, what kind of a teammate is he? When a guy's, I had a guy in Southern Illinois when I was a news photographer. I broke my ankle playing softball, and a guy brought me a dilly bar. Walked into my apartment and said, "Here's a dilly bar." My mom always brought me a dilly bar when I didn't feel good. This is going to make you feel better. Where are the teammates that do that kind of thing? And AJ Moye is a really good example of that. AJ Moye cared and continues to care about other people. When I was asking Dan, I don't know if you heard me,
I heard you.
but who does the ratings for that kind of stuff? 5-star this, 5-star that, bunch of nonsense. Who goes out and wins? Where's the ranking for that?
It's fascinating. You got to have a combination of enough talent and that. You can't just have, hey, look, I want to win and bring you a dilly, but you got to have both. I felt, and Michael on our YouTube chat makes a good point. I felt like Oladipo and Will Sheehy had the perfect combination of those two things. Whatever Sheehy was as a player, Sheehy had unbelievable enthusiasm. What are you laughing at? What do you got
No,
going?
I think you're exactly right. I've never thought about it that way. That they were an odd couple that really fit together in a really unique and nice way. I've never thought about them in that way.
Yeah, and that's Michael. Thank you for that on the YouTube chat. But hey, look, uh, if you were going to say to me, who's the most enthusiastic guy on Indiana's basketball team?
Wow. Leal, right?
I'd say the little white kids that come off the bench and,
Yeah. The
I mean,
cheer monkeys.
yeah. If I was going to ask you, who's the most enthusiastic guy on Purdue's basketball team?
Oh wow. Man. I I'd have a whole bunch of like Braden Smith. I think is really enthusiastic. I think Fletcher Lawyer's got great enthusiasm. I think the kid from Southern Illinois is enthusiastic.
I
I
think
think Edie, in his own
yeah,
way, is really enthusiastic.
I do. I do too. I think that, and the trainer at Purdue tells me Edie just brings it every day. He just brings it. And I mean, that's a part of enthusiasm too. Ah, shit, we got to go to practice. Ah, man,
Right.
you know, no. Now, I will say this: it's a lot easier to be enthusiastic when you're number one, number two in the country, and you know, somebody might say, "Hey, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Indiana Pacers and the Chicago Bulls are here at practice today." It's a lot easier than Indiana players getting absolutely crushed every time they lose. But that's also what you sign up for. You
It's
sign
it's
up for
also
bigness.
easier to be enthusiastic when you got a teammate who's saying, let's go. Let's go have some fun, and leads toward enthusiasm. And we've been a part of workplaces where it's been one or the other. Going into a workplace where everybody's kind of like, oh, when are we all getting fired? And going into a workplace where there is a culture and there's an enthusiastic ideology of let's attack today and to hell with it. If we make a couple of mistakes, we make a couple of mistakes, but we're going to have fun. And at the end of the day, we leave with a smile. Which place do you want to work at? Which place gets better work done?
It's exactly right. Uh, that that's exactly right, and that's a big deal in sports.
It
That's why
is.
I like the current Pacers. Like, hey, look, they lost, and Miles Turner shooting shots off the backboard, but I like every time, and maybe the Pacers are smart about this, but every time I see a picture of Tyrese Halliburton, he's smiling.
Yep.
Every time. I don't care whether it's in Twitter, wherever it is, he's always smiling, and that's pretty good. That's really good. You know what I mean?
I think that that was the thing that they really, really liked. And the reason when they made that trade for Sabonis, sending him to the Kings and getting Halliburton back, that trade took a long time because they were stuck on Halliburton. And I don't think it was all about scoring and assists. I think they knew that they needed somebody not just to lead that locker room, but lead this community into an enthusiastic kind of fan experience. And he is that guy. Good for Kevin Pritchard for holding out.
Yeah, you know what? Kevin Pritchard and Chad Buchanan. Chad Buchanan's a general manager. And so last night I text Chad. I saw where Magic Johnson complimented Chad on Twitter. He said, "Congratulations, Chad Buchanan, blah, 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 blah." So I text Chad. I said, "Hey, man, that's pretty cool. Congratulations. Keep doing a great job." And he goes, "Hey, Dan, I didn't think Magic Johnson would ever know my name." So there is an enthusiasm about what the Pacers got going, and I think that's fun. Michael says it right. Indiana fans loved Terry Hepner because of his enthusiasm, and I just think that if you're not going to be enthusiastic about sports, then what the hell are you doing? Like what if you're going to play at Indiana, where it's literally going. I just tell Andrew this about Michigan: where you are living and how you are living, based on where you're living, this beautiful apartment building with workout facility, how you're living, where all your meals are free, you got a masseuse every day, you got the best train, you got workout. You will never get to this level again until you're 40. Maybe if you're
Right.
40, if you get a good job when you're 25. So enjoy the shit out of it. And don't bitch about, hey, look, I can't believe. I could bitch back when I was playing at Indiana, and I did that night over Christmas with nobody on campus, stuck us freshmen in an empty Eigenman hall that smelled of curry and other, right? That's the way it is. I mean, I remember going, "Coach, don't put these freshmen in Eigenman. Like, son of a bitch, put them anywhere but Eigenman." And but it's not like that now. Indiana players have everything they could ever want.
Oh
So
yeah.
you should, including a ravenous fan base. A dying. Give me more. I saw that thing the other day, Kent, where like Indiana basketball has like 1 million followers on Twitter and no one else is even close, all that kind of stuff. Get your heads out of your ass, Indiana players. Let's go.
Let me ask you this. If you want for nothing and Indiana players want for nothing, what are you working for?
Ooh, man. That's something that I don't know. I don't.
Let me ask you another question. I'll ask this about Woodson, and I don't think it's necessarily a fair question because I don't think it's necessarily a fair way to evolve or evaluate a coach. Would you have any enthusiasm? And I'll go back to you, my experience with you. It was always fun to go down to Brooklyn if you were coming out to Knicks. We knew we were going to have a good time. I was always enthusiastic about that. And hell, I'm always enthusiastic about going to Knicks no matter what. But if you were going to be there, it was going to be extra entertaining going out, if I got an invitation from Mike Woodson to go out and have a couple of beers or a glass of wine or whatever, would I approach that with any kind of enthusiasm? Would I think, well, this is really going to be fun? I don't think that I would. I don't think that I would have a lot of fun doing that. I don't know what level of enthusiasm he would bring to that little expedition with me. I'm guessing it would be minimal. And so if I don't want to be around him, why would players be enthusiastic about working for him? Does that make any sense, or am I reaching way too far?
I get what you're saying. I equate it to golf. Like, hey, have you ever played golf with this guy? No, I don't want to.
Yeah,
Why? Because
yeah,
I don't want to, listen to it.
yeah.
I think that 18 to 22-year-olds, I think you're reaching a little bit, because I think one of the things that 18 to 22-year-olds see is in this day and age is NBA, and Woody sells that, right? A coach in the NBA, played in the NBA. But and I've had, like, Dr. Rink has told me that Woody's great with the players, really good. Doc's been down there 100 years. Uh, I see what you're saying. I'm with you totally on it. I'm just so far removed from being an 18 to 23-year-old. I don't know if it equates, I guess is what I would say.
Does he need a version of you like when you were 25, 27, 30? You could relate to guys, and does he need that I guess he's sort of got it. Does he need, like, if you're recruiting guys based upon their desire to get to the NBA, are you just recruiting guys who are working toward that next thing instead of what they can have today?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Yeah, and that's no good. Uh,
Right.
Even though we could say whatever we'd want about Ware or Mbako, I just read an article somewhere, and I read one way back, start of the season, and then I just read something where both of them are on draft boards to get drafted.
Yeah.
Like, how's that fair? I understand it. I totally understand it. Right?
Yeah.
I get it. That's it's potential, it's reach, it's all that stuff. But how's that something that should even equate? And how do those two? Because they know, they got guys.
Right.
They know. How do those two handle that? Mentally in a one and done deal. I don't have the answer. I mean, Woodson, I'm sure, is telling them, look, you can take care of this very simply, one way or the other. You play really well, you're going to stay. You don't play really well, I'm going to be on those draft boards. I mean, that's. But I think players are smart enough. I do. I think they're smart enough to know, yeah, does it really matter how I play? Because fans know. Dudes get Miles Plumley got drafted in the first freaking round, averaging about 6 and 6. I mean, I don't know, Kent. It's just if I were Woodson, I would from the moment people got to Indiana, all I'd do is sell Indiana. I'd
Yeah.
sell today, right now. And if I had to use the NBA as a weapon, then I'd use it as a weapon. But I would sell, and I would have every single human being in that locker room with me. Meaning last year, I think it was last year that Rosemond guy, or whatever his name is, coached against Minnesota. And after the game, he was excited. I'll give him a pat. He was excited. And he said, hey, look, if Trayce Jackson Davis isn't a first round pick, I'll kiss ass, or whatever he said.
Right.
Okay. I personally would be saying if Trayce Jackson Davis isn't the player of the year in the Big Ten, that kind of thing. I know what he was doing. I know what, because they're pumping that, they're pimping that. I get all of it, but I also have guys that have to contribute that aren't going to be draft choices.
Right.
So, what are we working towards? Being the first player picked in the draft, being an NBA first round pick, or for a guy like Galloway or whoever, are we working for this year? And players always they listen to all that stuff. I would make everything we, us, Indiana now, as opposed to then, you, NBA. I would. I would. It would be pumped in so hard that it would probably piss everybody off.
But to do that, it's got to mean something. Indiana's got to stand for something. Indiana, the brand of Indiana, like the brand of Purdue, we know what Purdue is. Like you said earlier, we don't know what Indiana is. Indiana just off they go, and they don't really compete, and they don't win, and they who are they? What are they? I think in order to recruit to Indiana and have Indiana mean something, you got to decide what Indiana is and have a bunch of guys who fit that culture. And I don't see it. Right?
Well, that's exactly right. And let me go back. This is off the court. Uh, what is the culture? Like, are we developing NBA guys? Remember Calipari famously said, biggest, best day in Kentucky history is when he had like 5 guys drafted in the first round, right? I mean, and Kentucky fans lost their mind. They're like, screw you. It's about national championships.
Yeah.
So, okay, Cal's made that very clear that his thing is an NBA thing. Well, again, my thing and this is where I get sideways with Indiana fans. My thing has always been raise your expectations about what Indiana is supposed to be right now, tomorrow, today, 3 o'clock practice. What, you know, don't lower them and say, well, it's nice. Mike's gotten them to the NCAA tournament. Okay, great. All right. Don't lower them. And because I always think this, Kent, if you lower expectations, people are damn sure going to meet them.
Yep.
And raise expectations, people are damn sure going to meet them most times, at least achievers are. But I think you get outside of this is Indiana and this is who we are and this is what we're playing for. Look at all these fans. Look at this attention. You play for this and you get it to NBA and shit like that. That's why you're in the position you're in right, Indiana.
If you're a player, do you get confused by Indiana giving Mike Woodson an extra $1 million in salary because Indiana went to the round of 32?
That's interesting. I've always said this. People have asked me about Bob Knight. I never in 16 years with Coach Knight knew when his contract was up, wasn't up. I didn't know what he made, no idea. And as a player, I didn't care. I think it's different now, though. I do. I think it's different now. And if I were a player, I would probably know. I would probably have paid attention to Woodson getting that. And I would say to myself, because I'm a smart ass, I would say, wait a second here. All us players are getting crushed because we got crushed by Miami and we quit. And this guy's getting an extra $1 million a year?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know how that would affect me. I don't think it would. I don't know. But I would know it. I didn't know it. I didn't know whether Coach Knight got a bonus for us beating North Carolina or winning a national championship or I didn't have any idea. No idea. But I think I would now because of the way the world works. And I think I would be like, damn, I'm getting death threats, turned the ball over against Virginia, and you're getting a freaking you're getting $8 million a year. I don't see right.
Hey, I want to get to before number one, subscribe. We are within like 40 of 5,000 subs, which would be a very cool thing for doing a show a week. I think that'd be awesome. Make sure and like the video, which 31 of you have done, 175 watching now. Make sure and like. And if you want to make a donation, make a donation. Scott Gilly, way long ago, we should have gotten to it then, said, guys, Matt Gay was supposed to fix a problem, gets a big payday, and then makes 80% of his field goals. He was super to be great, and except for the Baltimore game, he was cheeks. Will Ballard move on? No.
He was
No, the guy hit the upright like 6 times, for God's sake. He's a really good kicker. He had something wrong with his hip. I don't know. That's not where the problem with the Colts is.
No, I got no problem with Matt Gay, but I do like he was cheeks. He was ass cheeks. So I appreciate that much. But I don't know. I don't think the Colts move on from him even a little bit. Thank you for your donation. No. No. What is that? I got 99 problems and a blank ain't one. Colts got 99 problems and I don't think Gay is one. I don't know.
Beautiful. All right. Hey, good luck Monday. Have a great time. Raise some hell. And, bring the enthusiasm to 1430 that is so lacking on other outlets in this town.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you, everybody that listened. See you Monday. Thanks, brother.
Yep. We'll see you.